All right. We have one more guest speaker that we're very pleased to have, and that's NaShay Johnson. Born and raised in the community of Whitesboro, New Jersey, NaShay Johnson has always had the mindset of an entrepreneur. From a child, she would make keychains and sell them to family members. As she matured as a teenager, she went back and forth on what she wanted to be when she grew up. With a family filled with nurses and caregivers, she knew that that was not her passion. Ultimately, sewing portions of a family and consumer science class back in 2010 opened her eyes to what her true passion was, fashion. After graduating from Middle Township High School, NaShay and her family loaded up a van and traveled 821 miles to the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. To Clark Atlanta University to study fashion design and merchandising. NaShay was the first in her family alongside her twin sister to graduate with a college degree. Fast forward to today, NaShay has established and made a local name for herself as the owner of Johnson District. Johnson District would be her parent company as she continues to design under the name of NaShay Lynn. NaShay has participated in many fashion shows from New York City down to Atlanta, Georgia, as well as being a consistent vendor during the Whitesboro reunions and other local areas. NaShay, alongside her younger sister, has been featured on the front page of the Cape May County Herald, as well as the Black-owned publications such as Showcase magazine. The push to get her name out there stems from her latest event and showcasing during the New York Fashion Week, September 2024. And with the supportive help of her community, NaShay will continue to be a positive influence to all, and to follow her dreams, no matter if you're the first to do so. NaShay Johnson. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm so honored to be here today. In my community, I literally live down the street, so this is an honor for me. I'm so excited, and I hope I don't sound too nervous, but I really am excited to be here today. I would like to thank the Concerned Citizens of Whitesboro for this opportunity to even speak today. And it's ironic that this year's theme is Bound Together in Community Service, because when growing up, our very own Mrs. Calloway was my community, and I'm so happy that she's being honored, because Mrs. Calloway is a part of my village, and I like to think that my mom and dad did a great job of raising me to the point that a lot of you do not know me as NaShay. To many of you, I am Pam and Todd's daughter. See? And even after this, when people ask, like, who are the speakers today, of course they'll say Dr. Brian, and they'll also say Pam and Todd's daughter. But I am grateful that my parents allowed people like Mrs. Calloway to take me in and keep me in everything, and I truly mean everything. I had swimming lessons, I've experienced golf lessons, as well as piano, going to balls and cotillions, and truly I've experienced so much at such a young age because a member in my community stepped in and afforded me that option. So again, thank you, Mrs. Calloway. I appreciate it. So I'd like to tell you all a little bit about my testimony as it involves help from a stranger in my community. So back in February of this year, I got the call back that I was selected to participate in New York's biggest week in fashion. But I knew that I needed the help and the support of my community, but not just from people that I knew. So one day I prayed to God. I said, Lord, please send me help from a stranger, because I'm going to need it. And then I went about my day not thinking about anything, not knowing that God was cooking up a huge blessing for me. So for the next couple of weeks, my mom would text me saying that a person that she knew was impressed by me and my sister's story, and that she would go around and shop our stories to different news outlets. And the next thing I know, a reporter from the Herald called me to ask me about my story. And then after that, my sister and I made the front page of the Cape May County Herald. And then after that, our story was placed in the Black-owned publication, the Showcase magazine. And then just this past Monday, my sister and I was featured at NBC Philly Live. So this help from a stranger has not helped only myself, but it's blessed so many people. And I would love to thank my auntie Denise, Miss Denise Bethune. Thank you so much.
Good to meet you.
And then so enough about me. Enough about me. So I'd like to recall 3 short stories on the importance of community and through the unselfish actions of a stranger. So keeping on the subject of help from a stranger, I want to talk about a man named Bruce. So Bruce was a great high school cornerback in football before, in his very own words, wasting a decade of drinking and getting high. Now sober, Bruce wanted to redeem himself and his reputation in the community. Bruce came up with the idea of starting a youth football team for boys 8 and 9 years old. And in the summer of 1993, he approached a group of young boys playing outside. And he asked them, hey, do any of you guys like to play football? And one of them stated that was his favorite sport. Bruce challenged the boys to race and proclaimed that the fastest one will be my running back. Bruce, happy with what he saw, invited the fastest boy to a practice. Now his mother, already falling on hard times, had the little boy when she was 16 years old, barely had a place to lay her head and no car to take the boy or money to afford his equipment, said no, he couldn't. But Bruce volunteered to pick up the boy and take him to practice. However, Bruce quickly grew tired of going back and forth to different addresses as the boy and the mom stayed with so many different people in just a weekly span. Bruce offered to let the boy live with him, but like any sane mother, she said absolutely not. Then Bruce offered to let both the mother and the son live with him and his family together. So that young boy, believe it or not, grew up to be one of the greatest players in the NBA, LeBron James. Now, I can't mention a celebrity without telling the story of one of the most influential people in the fashion industry that I think don't get talked about enough, Miss Ann Lowe. So Ann was a talented African-American fashion designer and was a designer behind the Jackie Kennedy's wedding party in 1950s. Ann designed 16 dresses for the wedding. One day, Ann entered into her studio in New York with water everywhere. The studio was completely flooded. 9 out of the 16 wedding dresses were ruined just 10 days before the wedding. Ann enlisted help from her community, ate the cost of the new fabric, and redid all 9 dresses. And after everything was said and done, Ann and her team arrived to the house to drop off the dresses, only to be stopped at the front door by the butler and told to go around back, because that's where the help enters. Ann looked at her team and said to the butler, if I have to go through the back door, the bride and the bridesmaids won't be wearing these dresses. It's safe to say that Ann and her team entered into that front door. Now just imagine if one of her team members in her community said, Ann, it's okay, we've been through enough, don't worry about it, let's just go around back. The community is only as strong as its members. What you take will be what you always take. So regardless of skin color, culture, and background, everyone has the ability to impact their community. In my final story, I would like to talk about, regardless of what people think about you, you have the ability to positively influence your community through compassion. There's a story in one of my favorite books that starts off describing a man who was brutally beaten by robbers. The robbers took his clothing, all of his possessions, and left him for dead on the side of the road. A man of a high authority was walking down the road and saw the man laying there. Before he can get even close, he moved over to the other side of the street. He figured, hey, that has nothing to do with me. Another man, not as high in authority, but second in line, comes and walks up to the man, looks at him, sees how beaten he was, how bad his body looked, and then crosses the street. Still badly beaten, the man lays there in agony, looking for help. Finally, a man that many despised and considered extremely unclean, especially in the eyes of the first two men that came before him, spotted the bloody man on the side of the road. The third man had compassion for him. He stood before him, wrapped his wounds up, brought him to a care facility and to be treated. Today, our neighbors aren't just the people that we see or live next door to, but they are the single mother on Facebook asking for help and resources. Or so-and-so's cousin, sister, brother-in-law calling out for help because he can't picture himself a new tomorrow. Community isn't scrolling past the call for help or screenshotting it to talk about it to a friend later. It's closing the app, going into prayer, and then reaching out privately to offer support or resources. Community is showing initiative. Community is showing initiative and not waiting for someone else to make it happen, but you stepping up and making it happen, regardless. I'll end by saying this. A good community can impact one, but a strong community can impact all. Thank you.
Our guest speaker, NaShay Johnson, and grateful appreciation for your time, inspirational words, and support of our community. August 31st, 2024.
Thank you, NaShay.